Yep, hello, good afternoon everybody, welcome to East Coast Fiberglass Supplies, our first live stream. I'm Nick, I normally look after the website and videos and things like that, and on the other camera, is he over, no, over there, is Martin. Hello Martin.
Hi everyone, I'm Martin, Technical Advisor at East Coast Fiberglass Supplies. We've got a few technical advisors, so I'll be here to answer any questions on basic fiberglassing, moulding techniques. If there are any questions that are not my field, we'll get one of our other tech advisors, Lee or Gary, to come onto the comments section later and answer your questions for you. Not sure how many people are watching at the moment, if we're going to get any questions, so we've got a few frequently asked questions set aside, and Nick will go through and read those out, and I'll just answer those until anybody puts anything in the comments section.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, there's a comment box that looks like the one above my head. Just type your question in there and Martin will do his best to answer it, as we said. Please remember, if you are commenting, that this video will be archived and it'll be available on YouTube afterwards, so don't say anything stupid, no swearing. I think we've got a couple of people watching. Nobody wants to ask any questions yet, so I think we'll just start off with asking some of these popular questions, shall we?
Yeah, I'm ready.
As we say, these are questions that Martin and the tech guys get asked all the time, so hopefully this will help somebody out. Okay, here's a question. What are good materials to mould from if I want to make a simple geometric shape or a flat sheet without having to make a mould?
Well, that's quite an easy one. I've had a few calls where people have used plywood, they've spent a load of time varnishing it, putting a lacquer on it to mould from it. You don't have to go that far for a flat sheet or a simple mould. Just use melamine faced chipboard or MDF, same kind of board you get on the inside of kitchen cupboards. All that needs is simple light waxing, and then you can go straight on with a gel coat, let that cure, put your fiberglass laminate on there, and once it's fully cured it'll easily demould from that surface. So if you want to do something simple like a jockey console for a boat or a wheelhouse, all you would do is do a negative shape of what you want to make, fill at the corners with plasticine, use a fillet ball, metal fillet ball that we sell in our mould making materials section, and use that to give you a nice neat radius edge, and then you can use that as your mould.
So as long as it's got a good finish to it?
As long as it's got a good finish to it. Not everything with a good finish is suitable for moulding from. Things like acrylic, they'll just melt, but good ones are melamine faced board, like I said. Aluminium's a good one. Also, if you're doing castings for jewellery mould, we normally find that LDP, plastic's really good to mould from, or the kind of Tupperware tub plastic. If you're unsure about the material, always do a small test first before you do a large project, moulding from that. If it is material that isn't suitable for moulding from, usually you can give it plenty of coats of PVA release agents, and that'll help you mould from most surfaces.
Okay, cool. If anybody has any further questions about that, just type them in the chat on YouTube. It seems like I've got about 16 boxes to look at here, but oh no, that's strange. Somebody was on Facebook saying they couldn't get connected. Hopefully you are now, Ian, because we do seem to have a few people watching. We're live and there's a few people watching. Sorry Martin, go on.
Yeah, just having a quick check on my phone just to see if there's anything coming up. I can't see anything at the moment. I'll just refresh that again.
The idea, of course, behind us doing live streaming in the first place is we do have regular courses about quite a lot of different composite techniques. A very popular one is the, what do we call it? Fiberglass sort of basic courses, basic fiberglass.
Basic fiberglass courses, yeah.
And that's really popular, but of course a lot of people can't get to them around the country. So the idea we had was let's set up some cameras in our, because we've got a factory here as well, set up some cameras in there sometime and do a live streamed online course.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I've quite a few things set up. Any old Blue Peter fans will know we'll have like a, here's one I made earlier, and we'll just go through the steps and processes, have something gelled up, ready to gel, show you how to fiberglass it, all the way through to the end when we demold it.
So that's the plan for the future, and so the reason we're doing this today is just to test out the technology, make sure we've got a good connection. We do seem to have a very good connection, seems to be working okay.
I don't seem to be getting anything on my phone now.
This live event, to try and refresh it. Didn't check my phone actually. Oh, it's funny, isn't it?
If there's anybody out there, let us know if you are able to view this video.
Can you let us know if you can't see us?
Oh, wait a minute. It's that's me. That's fine.
Oh, you're right.
I'm on the wrong link. Yeah, there must be two links on there.
Yeah, that might be my fault.
Oh, well, this is why we're having a practice.
Well, exactly. Right, okay, let's another question that we get asked a lot is, what resin do I use? And I'm pleased this has come up because we always wondered how to pronounce this word. What resin do I use for a potable water tank?
Yeah, so if you make a tank for drinking water, which a lot of people do on boats, they want to make their own bespoke tank to fit in a certain area of the boat. We recommend 491 PA resin. However, anybody using it should consult the technical data sheet. We normally stress that all the time when we sell materials. Check the technical data sheets so you know how to use the material. This resin needs to go through what's known as a post cure, which off the top of my head I think it's something like 80 degrees C at 4 hours, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so like I say, always check the data sheet so you know what you're doing before you start using it. And that post cure is vital to make the tanks safe for drinking water. And also you can give us a call, our tech team, and we'll go through the process with you and give you advice on it.
Yes, so for any information that you've missed, of course we are archiving the video and it'll be on YouTube so you can watch it again in the future. And for anybody who's watching it not live and who wants to ask questions, you can always email us, and we'll stick a slide up at the end of the video with the email on.
Yeah,
People can get in touch.
Both emails for our sales team and the technical team.
Okay, here's another question for you. What is the difference, I guess you get asked this a lot, what's the difference between a gel coat and a flow coat, and can I get a good cosmetic finish from flow coat? I want to know the answer to this.
Yeah, it is a good question. It does come up quite a bit, so there'll probably be quite a lot of people interested in this. Gel coat, for those who don't already know, is for putting into a mould. It comes in various colours. We have a massive range of RAL colours there. So that goes into your mould first. You let it cure off to a tack finish. Good test is just to run your finger across it just to make sure it's no colour comes off your finger, but it is tacky to the touch, and that's an indication of a good time to start laying it up. And then you then put your fiberglass on. Now, because of that tackiness, that doesn't really tend to go away until dust and dirt and grime lands on it. That's no good for a cosmetic finish. You don't want a tacky finish on a boat. So that's where flow coat comes into play. Flow coat is made from gel coat. It has 2% MW wax and styrene added to it, and that helps it cure without that tackiness. The job of the wax is to rise to the top surface as it cures, cutting off its exposure to the air, because the gel coat cure is air inhibited, so that's why you get the tackiness. So that allows you to use flow coat as a final coat. It's normally used on the inside of boat hulls where a high cosmetic mirror finish isn't important. It's usually more to seal the rough fibres of the chopped strand. But a lot of people like to use it as a paint, which is fine, but I wouldn't really expect a high cosmetic finish. You can buff it up, you can polish it back, But chances are, if you're trying to do something like the cosmetic side of a hull with flow coat, by the time you rub that back to get a good finish on it, you probably end up rubbing back to the hull again. So usually it's a good idea just to assess the situation. It may be better just to paint the boat rather than trying to re-gel or flow coat it. Re-gelling hulls, it can be done. I believe there's companies out there that do it. They'll formulate their own thin gels for spraying and flow coats, but it takes a bit of practice to do that. And when you start altering the gels and flow coats with styrene to thin them down and things, it does affect the cure. So you have to practice if you're thinking about doing that on a small scale. Sometimes trying to get a high cosmetic finish with flow coat, it's not worth the hard work. Sometimes it's just easier just to paint it. Also, if you're going to re-flow coat an area, bear in mind that it is an old laminate. You're not going to get 100% chemical bond between that and an old material. So it's a good idea to give it a really good heavy sanding, wipe it down with acetone to promote some chemical adhesion back, and then go on with a flow coat. But let's say that chemical adhesion is not going to be 100%. That's sometimes why you get a lot of conflicting advice and arguments online on forums. People saying you can re-gel, you can flow coat, other people saying no, you can't. A lot of it's down to either poor preparation or they're just not getting 100% chemical bond to an old laminate, or they're going on top of old paint or epoxy that gel coats don't bond to, because gel coat and flow coat is a polyester material. It relies on a chemical bond, so it has to go on top of another polyester. You can thoroughly sand epoxy and get somewhat of a mechanical adhesion, but it's not that great. As soon as there's a knock or a bash in that area, usually it will pick away from epoxy. So it's quite a long-winded answer to that question. It gets quite complicated when you start flow coating and gel coating, but I hope that clears that one up.
Yes, that is good information. And here's a question sort of on that subject. And this is a real life application question, because I've got a door at home, a front door. Obviously that's not fiberglass, that's what I don't know if they're injection moulded or whatever they are. It's got a crack in it, so what would be, but it's on a very beveled area surface. Without worrying too much about how it looks cosmetically, can I just use some flow coat and just paint that on, or what do you recommend for that?
If it's a PVC door, you'll probably not get a great bond to it.
Right.
Fiberglass will naturally release from PVC. Anyone who uses a material will know that if you use PVC buckets, the resin will just easily bash out of the bucket to reuse the bucket again. You can use Microseal T20 as a promoter to help it adhere to the PVC. Do your patch. It's a pretty good idea just to spray it over, disguise it. Composite doors, they're polyester based, I believe, so something like a composite door should be able to be repaired with the material. Right.
Okay. Well, here's something funny. The chat wasn't working, but that was my fault. It is now. So we've got a couple of comments and one question, which says, Martin, when working with carbon fibre, this is from Hunru4, when working with carbon fibre, how much of the materials are reusable and what is scrapped after the job?
Depends on the process you're using. If you are doing vacuum bagging processes, then you've got a lot of consumables that are going to be wasted. So you've got things like your low temperature sealant tape, the vac bag itself, release films. Unfortunately, they're not reusable, those. And if you did try to reuse them, you're risking damaging the part, having pinholes and leaks in the bags and things. So that's why high-end carbon parts are quite expensive. It's not just the materials, it's not just the process and the skill involved, but it's all the wastage and the consumables, the process and actually making them. So that's what normally bumps up the price of carbon fibre. If you're handling carbon, which is not the best way of doing it because you can end up with the pinholes and the carbon fibre and things, But if you do tend to do them hand lay, you've got a lot less wastage, but you've got a lot more work to get it to a cosmetic level, because then you've got to sand the part down, clear lacquer it, and all that to go through.
Okay. Hope that answers your question. Hunru 4. Another couple of people were saying that they couldn't get on from the link on Facebook. That's probably my fault.
Yeah, there's two. I've noticed that on my phone earlier when I was doing a test. There's two links on there. So if you go to our YouTube channel and just scroll down to where it says uploads, there's two links on there. Click on the one that says live now. It's got a little red tab saying live now.
Okay, well, we're on now. There's a few people watching. Welcome along. If you have just joined us, this is East Coast Fibreglass, also known as ECF Composites. We're running a live Q&A this afternoon as an experiment to test out live streaming, with the intention that in the future we're going to run some live courses in composites and fiberglass and stuff like that. So while we're waiting for people, you're welcome, Hunru 4. He says thanks for that.
Brilliant.
He or she. Don't want to be sexist, do we? Okay, here's another of our stock questions for you, Martin. This is talking about a plug. Do you want to tell people what a plug is now, just in case anybody doesn't know that?
A plug, or what something is known in the industry as a former, is what you start with before you make your mould. So if you've got an idea for an object you want to make, you need to have that built in the form of a plug, which is going to be the exact shape of the part you want to make. It doesn't have to be manufactured yourself, as in CNC'd or anything. You can just mould from an existing part. We have quite a few customers who race motorcycles and cars, and they go through a hell of a lot of panels. Each race something's getting smashed. So what they'll do is they'll take moulds from the panels, so they can easily reproduce them for the next race. However, if you're starting from scratch, you can, on a professional level, you can have things CNC'd and then fare it off and finish it. But from a DIY point of view, if you want to make a former, you can use timber, plaster, body filler as well, or a combination of all three. So if you're not that great with the CNC process, let's say you can use any of those materials. It's a good idea once you've built your former to then coat it. So if you're using timber or anything with a soft finish, use something like a sand and seal varnish, just a hardware and wood varnish. Sand that back, and then the recommended material to use is Reusable surface primer, or any other resin-based primer. I think we do a Scott Barder one as well, Prime Coat. That's a good suitable material also. So you flat that back to a smooth finish before then putting your release agents on there. Avoid using things like 2-pack acrylic paints. Small scale, you probably get away with it if you're making something like a small vent cover for a car. But if you do use 2-pack paints, make sure you put plenty of PVA release agent on, multiple coats to form a skin, and then a light wax on top before you mould from it. The trouble you have with 2-packs, they're quite soft. Once you get heat generation from the materials that you've put on to make your mould, it starts to soften the paint. Also the styrene can attack the paint as well, so you end up with it all crinkling underneath. So the best thing to use is a resin-based surface primer like Prime Coat or Durabuild, which is also a high build primer. You can apply it and cut it back, and you can even polish it up.
Okay, great. We've got a live question here, Martin, from Jeff Higgins. Hello, Jeff. And he wants to know, which gel coat do I need to repair old damaged gel coat? It's just a small repair.
Hi Jeff, yeah, just standard polyester gel coat. Like I said earlier, if you go on our gel coats, we've got our gel coat section. We've got a multitude of, probably all, we can have it available in all RAL colours. We've got a huge selection on our website. So first of all, find out what colour your gel coat is. If it's things like chips and dings, you can just wipe those out with acetone, clean them out, fill it with a gel coat, let it cure overnight. It's important to let it cure overnight so it goes to full hardness. If you rub gel coat down too quick, the friction, the heat build up and soften it, and it can crumble. So I normally find overnight's best. If it's slightly too proud of the surface, you can just take an edge of a Stanley blade and shave it down flat, and then finish off with the wet and dry papers, and then polish it using Fibreglass Select. If you've got spider cracking or star crazing of the surface, you can go around with a Dremel or a sharp tool and just V those out, and the same process applies. Just pop some gel coat in there.
And for gel coat, as you were saying earlier, the difference between gel coat and flow coat is that flow coat has the wax so it can go off in contact with air, but gel coat can't. So if that was an exterior gel coat repair, it would have to be, you would have to cut it off from air somehow with a release film, or
if it's a really small repair, you can get away with a gel coat. The surface tack's quite slight, and once you go over it with a bit of wet and dry paper, it's fine if it's a small repair. However, if it's a larger repair, you don't want to be going through loads of sheets of wet and dry, gumming up all the time with the tackiness. So then you would use a flow coat. But always bear in mind, flow coat, you can only apply that as your final last coat. You can't effectively put a flow coat on top of a flow coat because you won't get that chemical bond due to the wax. So if you want to build up some height, you can go gel coat a few layers, then finish with a flow coat, and then cut it back if you wanted to. But there's no real need for a flow coat if it's a very small repair. We've got a video in our links actually. If you go on our website, on the top we've got a video link. If you click on that, there is a video on gel coat repairs as well. We also do the gel coat repair kits.
Right, so in answer to Jeff's question, which was which gel coat does he need to repair all damaged gel coat on a small repair, is basically just
polyester gel coat.
Polyester gel coat, and choose what colour you want.
Yeah.
And some of them come in smaller amounts than others, don't they? Like some of the round numbers, because we mix them to order here, like a B&Q paint machine. We've got that for gel coat.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So some of them are like a small minimum amount, not
yes, some colours, however, minimum amount could be anything from 3 to 5 kilos, depending on the colour, because it's all to do with the base. And
but if it's a white or a grey or something dead standard like that, you can get just a tiny little, like 100 gram.
Yeah, but something off the shelf. But if we have to have it colour matched, sometimes even a standard white or a cream, there's that much white base has to be put in to produce it. That the minimum quantity could be 3 or 5 kilos.
Right, and Jeff says, brilliant, I've always been a bit confused between gel and flow coat.
Oh, excellent.
Me too.
It comes up quite a bit.
And I'm going to get a little pot for me door then, don't I?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, okay, we've got another one for you. It's 104 again. And he says, Martin, I have a fiberglass kit car, front wings and bonnet. While sitting outside under a cover for several months, he says the field coat, but I think he means the gel coat, has bubbled like measles. What causes this, and what's the best fix?
Depends what composition. Did you mention what composite it is? Is it carbon or is it just standard fiberglass?
Just says fiberglass kit car. So let's go with fiberglass for now, and if he replies that it's something else.
Yeah, if it's standard fiberglass, it could be similar to what a lot of boats go through, known as osmosis, where the moisture's ingressed into the fibres, it's expanded under different temperatures, and it causes blisters on the surface. So you would probably treat that just the same way as we normally do with a boat. Break all the blisters, tap them all out. If the whole panel's absolutely covered in them, you don't want to be standing there just tapping them all out. So usually on boats they normally sandblast the surface just to kind of sand it back and open up all those blisters. If it's not so extensive, you can just tap them out and fill them with gel coat and go through each one like that. It's a bit of an arduous task, but if it's not a big area, you can just do it that way. Or if it's a big area, you can skim it over, but rather than use gel coat like they do with boats, use epoxy. So mix something like West Systems 407 with an epoxy, make a fairing compound, skim it over, sand it all back, few more coats of epoxy over the top of that, flat that back, and then you just finish it off with an automotive paint. If you want to keep it polyester, you can do. You can do the same thing, sand it right back. I believe in the automotive industry, when they're repairing these, they usually give it a tissue layer with a polyester resin, just to give it a stronger surface coat, and then they'll go over with laser gel coat, and then, as I mentioned earlier, they'll finish it off with a floor coat. But you've got to be confident that that's your last coat and you've got enough thickness there to start rubbing it back. The downside of that process is that some areas might be too thick of gel coat, so if it's a flexible panel, you could end up with little star creators and cracks and things.
So, what's the short answer? Either epoxy
or do the polyester. There's not really a quick fix to it.
No.
Both.
And it's caused by water getting into the laminate, probably.
Probably, yeah. Unless it's been poorly laid up in the first place and there's been a lot of air in there between the gel coat and the fiberglass.
Okay. Right, so I don't think there's any new comments for the moment, so let's go with another one of these standby questions, which is this. What are the most common mistakes that tend to be made by first-time users, and how can they fix these issues?
That's another good question.
Yeah.
There's quite a few things can happen. One of the common ones, one that I used to do a lot when I first started working with fiberglass, is forgetting to put the catalyst in. So all you're left with is just a wet mess that's not going to go off. Thing is with resins like polyesters, they need that hardener to have the chemical reaction. Without that, it'll not go off. It might dry to a point that it'll never go hard. So in most cases, if that happens, there's no real fix apart from just clean everything off with acetone, and starting again with that. To make the clean-up process easier, you can rub in some catalyst and then start peeling it out of the mould. If you're doing a roofing application, however, it's best to just clean it all up. It is sometimes tempting to mix up a highly catalysed batch of resin or top coat and then paint it over, but the chances are there'll be some areas that you'll miss that'll just stay tacky, and something like a roof that if you did that and trapped the uncured resin underneath, it would start to eat through because of the styrene's being trapped in there, or the smell's going to go through into a property if it's a roof of a house. The other common mistake is the first time use is using it in the cold. A lot of people haven't got access to a decent temperature controlled workshop, so a lot of our first time users might just have a shed or a garage that isn't heated very well. It is a good idea to get some heat in there, even if it's just a fan heater. When I'm working in my garage, I just have a small fan heater at a distance. You don't want to create any hot spots because that will cause problems on your panel with shrinkage and distortion. So you just want to get a good ambient temperature around the room. Usual recommended temperatures around about 18 to 20-25 degrees, something around about that. And always condition your product to temperature before you use it. It's no good having a nice room temperature and then starting to use a cold product. And usual catalyst dosage is about 2%. You can increase it to compensate for the cold, but whenever you're doing anything that's in the wrong kind of temperatures, that differs from the data sheet, you are running the risk of things going wrong that way. So always consult the data sheet before you use the product.
Okay, and I'll contribute a beginner's mistake that I made when I was doing my shed roof with fiberglass. It was a hot day. Can you guess what I did?
Again, temperature. The most common one is usually people trying to use it in the cold,
Right.
or damp conditions. I forgot to mention earlier, actually, if the product gets damp or wet, that'll cancel out the cure as well, and you have to start again. But on the flip side of that is, if it's too hot, it's going to go off too quick.
Yeah.
It's going to go off it always goes off quicker in the bucket, or what's known as your pot life in the pot that you've mixed it in. It'll always go off quicker in that than what it will on the job. Now, if you're working on a hot day, it's fine if you're in the shade, but if you're in direct sunlight, the UV acts as an accelerator, so that can speed up the cure as well. So avoid direct sunlight if you can, and always make sure that you only mix enough that you can comfortably transfer onto the surface area and have enough time to paddle roll it before you go off to mix your next batch. And if you're doing small projects, what I've often found is people will mix stuff in a small cup and they'll hold it in the hand when you've got heat generated from your hand. So try and just have it on the side and just be dipping it from that rather than holding it in your hand, because you're reducing your pot life because of the temperature from your body.
Okay, so so that was my beginner's error.
Thanks, Nick.
Making too much at one time, mixing up too much catalyst and stuff at the jug, whatever it was at the time.
Yeah, 2% is the usual dosage
Yeah.
for most things.
Oh, that's what I was like putting like 5 litres at a time in my bucket or something, and
Yeah,
because
so
it was hot.
So it's quite a large mass.
Just
Anyway,
couldn't get it out the
the
bucket,
bigger
yeah.
the mass, the quicker. It's like a chain reaction. You've got a large mass that's going to generate heat. That heat's going to speed up the cure, so it just snowballs, and before you know it, it's gone off on your bucket or it's turned into lumps on the job.
Yeah. Okay, well, we don't have any more questions, I don't think, from the live chat, so I think we'll probably wrap it up for there as an experiment of the live stream.
Yeah, but if anybody's got any ideas, any live streams they want to see, or not even if it's not a live stream, just a video on a certain subject, pop it in the comments if you're not watching this live, and we'll work on that.
Yeah, we were going to say, weren't we, if you're watching this not live, you're watching it afterwards, and you have any questions, put them in the comments and we can come back and reply to those and respond to those, or get in touch with us. And I will put the email address on at the end for tech support, which is free, by the way. Or you can call us, but probably just for UK only, that one I would have thought.
Yeah.
So unless anybody else wants to ask a question, we'll hang on for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, just while we're waiting as well, if anybody's deciding to get into fiberglass moulding, when you go onto on websites and you look at guides and videos, it can look quite daunting, making a mould from start to finish. But we're here for tech advice and assistance, so if you ever phone up and you want to make a mould of something, we'll give you the advice. But you don't have to take on board all that information at once. You can, at each stage of your project, give us a call, and we'll just help you along with your project.
Yeah, and I was trying to find on Facebook, we ran a poll to see whether people would rather have a course on an evening or a weekend. And most people, I would say 80% or 90 even, said they'd rather have it on an evening. So we'll be doing an evening basic fiberglass techniques course, and if there's anything else you'd like us to do a course on, let us know, and that can be arranged, can't it? We haven't set a date yet for that, but we will, and we'll put it on our Facebook page, and we'll also schedule it on YouTube. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I think that's all we have for today, is it? Unless you have anything else to say?
No, that's it for now.
No? Okay.
We could probably go on forever, but...
Yeah. So thanks to those of you who joined us. Do join us next time, where we will be doing more of a proper course rather than just a Q&A. But we can do Q&As again in the future, can't we?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Quite fun. Alright then, so thanks for joining us, guys, and don't forget to subscribe and all that stuff. And we'll see you soon. Bye from me.
Thanks. Bye for me. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.